Hello, WAFLT world. I'm Donna Lansberry, and I am the new WAFLT president, and I serve on the testing team. So today, I would like to talk to you about assessing for proficiency. We have a new challenge in this virtual world, but there are still ways we can do this. So assessing for proficiency in the virtual world. If you'll notice at the very bottom, there is a link on this slide, and again at the very end of my presentation, that has the script with the links to all the topics that I'll be talking about. So let's begin. What is proficiency? According to OSPI World Languages, language proficiency refers to a person's ability to use a language for a variety of purposes, including speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Although many students will be learning remotely, proficiency levels remain the same. So what are the proficiency levels? Proficiency is commonly measured using guidelines developed by WAFLT, and they measure on a scale of 10 levels. The goal is to have students achieve at least the following levels by the end of each course. Level 1, novice low to novice mid. Level 2, at least novice high. Level 3, intermediate low. Level 4, intermediate mid. Level 5, intermediate high to advanced low, which is usually what is required at least to be a teacher. And then level 6 through 10 are the advanced to superior to distinguished, usually college professor, professional, UN type. So, what can students do at each level? WAFLT has created the can-do statements with proficiency benchmarks and performance indicators to define what students can do at each level. These can-do statements give tasks in all three modes of communication. Here's a few examples. Level 1, novice mid. I can communicate using a variety of simple phrases and questions. Novice high, I can request and provide information on everyday topics. Intermediate low, I can participate in spontaneous conversations and express thoughts. Intermediate mid, I can interact and exchange detailed information on a variety of subjects. Intermediate high to advanced low, I can state and present my viewpoint across various time frames. And this little ice cream cone gives kind of a good visual for students to see how they need to move up. So, how do we assess proficiency? First, it's important to understand what the difference is between achievement, performance, and proficiency. In an article called Proficiency versus Performance versus Achievement, it explains, simply stated, proficiency is the ability to use language in a real-world situation. Performance is the ability to use language in a limited and controlled situation, such as a classroom or a controlled situation-based exchange. Achievement is the ability to repeat language elements that have been taught and mastered at some level. Each has a role in language learning, but only proficiency is what people use to communicate in the real world. So basically, it can be broken down this way. Achievement, those daily, weekly learning activities, little quizzes, formative assessments. Performance, unit quizzes and tests, and summative assessments. Proficiency is using the language in authentic situations to demonstrate yearly progress. For proficiency tests, some teachers are surprised that there aren't any grammar conjugation sections. So I'll come back to that in a moment. But for more ideas on how to create performance assessments, WAFLT language expert Paul Sandrock has an excellent book of ideas called The Keys to Assessing for Language Performance. These ideas will help answer students who ask, does this count, or is this on the test? And in the script that I've added, there's a link to the video from his recent training at the NFLC virtual conference. So for proficiency, again, There is no grammar conjugation on these tests. Only authentic use of the language is assessed across various time frames and topics. So knowing when to use past, present, future, but authentic use, not just conjugating. When I taught for the Department of Defense Education Association overseas, we gave the stamp test, the Avant stamp test, to all language students each spring just to measure their annual proficiency, to make sure they were moving forward. Remote testing is available now for language testing, placement testing, and also for teacher training and how to do proficiency testing through Avant Assessment, Stamp, WorldSpeak, Avant Place, Avant Advance. If you visit avantassessment.com, we work with this company quite a bit to do a lot of our language testing. Wonderful organization. OSPI also has testing guidelines for competency credits that are used for heritage and advanced language students to receive up to 4 years of high school credit and the seal of biliteracy, as you see on the slide. It lists which proficiency assessments meet the state requirements to be used for these credits. You can see the list here: Avant, LTI, custom testing, ALTA, AP, IB. And so when a student is a senior and they have passed all of their English and at high proficiency in another language, then they qualify for the seal of biliteracy. In addition, there's also the global seal of biliteracy. This provides credentials and recognition for higher levels also. This seal is available to high school students, private school students, which they cannot get the seal of biliteracy, that is a public school thing, but they can get the global seal of biliteracy. College students can get this. Teachers, educators, we can take this and get a proficiency rating and credentials through the global seal. And any adult who would like to be recognized for the proficiency using all of their language skills. With the global seal, you can move to a higher level, get college credit, use it for careers, and possibly pay raises. So, how do students earn grades? Most of us use some kind of points, letter grades, or a standard-based grading system. Using the World Readiness Standards, we have guidelines for instruction and assessment. They are the 5 C's: communication, culture, connection, comparison, and communities. Using the communication standard, we can assess through 3 modes of communication: interpretive, where you interact, you speak, you listen, you share; interpretive, where you interpret what you're hearing, what you're listening to, or what you're reading; presentational, where you present through speaking or writing or both. It's important to distinguish those activities assessments that are formative or summative. My school, when I taught before I retired in the Everett School District, we went to a school and department-wide grading program. We all had only 2 main weighted categories: formative and summative. All assignments and tests were placed in one or the other. We also decided how to weigh both categories to build consistency across the school. For world languages, English, social studies, and a few other departments, we did 70% summative and 30% formative. Math and science did 80-20, and some advanced courses did 90-10. Having a department or school-wide consistent policies, it is helpful for both the students and parents to understand the expectations. Some schools create categories based on the 3 modes of communication. This works well for some activities, but sometimes overlap of modes makes it more difficult to classify. Many standard-based gradings require 100% summative with only check marks or some tracking showing the formative activities. This works well in some locations, but there has been research showing various results of standard-based grading. Some data shows that in the upper levels, especially at lower socioeconomic schools, that not giving credit for the achievement part of the process makes for higher stakes grading. So work with your school and department to find what works best where you are. Although many assessments can be straightforward points, using a performance rubric is beneficial for both the grading process and providing feedback to the student. Most are either a 1 through 4 scale, similar to standard-based rubrics, or a 1 through 5 scale, similar to the AP rubrics. And some have both a scale and points or percents that can be used with either or any of the grading systems. And again, in my script, I've added a link to some performance rubrics. Again, performance rubrics. So, what are the expectations in the 21st century? According to WAFLT and the Partnership for 21st Century Skills, increasing global economies, a heightened need for national security, and changing demographics in the U.S. have increased attention to our country's lack of language capability. Every call to action to prepare our students for the 21st century includes offering them the opportunity to learn languages other than English and increase their knowledge of other cultures. To fill future needs, we need to do more to move students to higher proficiency levels. For employment, most jobs need employees at least an intermediate mid to advanced levels. WAFLT also released a study, Making Languages Our Business, showing the language needs of employers. 9 out of 10 employees stated they depend on bilingual employees. And again, I've attached the document with that information. In November of 2019, I was able to attend the WAFLT conference in Washington, D.C. and be part of the delegation of World Language Advocates. We met with our legislators to share this information about language needs and to promote support of language learning. Teaching remote through a pandemic is an unprecedented challenge, but with basic structures for assessment that support the instruction, students can know what is expected of them and what it takes to move to a higher level of proficiency. By using authentic language about current topics that are dominating our world, students have real context for communication. So as we go forth assessing our students, we must keep in mind their achievement in the formative stage, their performance as they progress through the year, and their proficiency by the end of each level. Assessing for proficiency focus on real communication skills, both virtual and in person. Always keeping in mind to use authentic language and culture wherever we can. So I encourage all of us to just look at where students are and just move them forward in their proficiency so that whatever level they are at, which will be all over the place during this pandemic, but move them forward to another level. And again, on this last page, thank you all for checking in, and I wish you all the best. And the link again to the script with all of the links to all the topics that I've talked about are in there. And feel free to contact me at WAFLT anytime. I am happy to communicate with any of you. Again, thank you.